Well, good morning again, everyone. My name is Leslie J. Sherrod. I am the moderator for this panel of mystery and suspense within Christian fiction. I am so happy and delighted that you all are here. Um, we're waiting to see if our authors will show up, but what I would like to do is at least still introduce you to the authors as well as their work. And just by way of introduction, I wanted to share a Bible verse. 1 Corinthians 2:7 says, "We declare God's wisdom, a mystery that has been hidden and that God destined for our glory before time began." When we think about it, there are a lot of scriptures that talk about the mysteries of God and how through his grace, we receive revelations of his wisdom and glory. I feel that Christian writers of mystery can help us better understand our faith through encouraging, entertaining, and truly wonderful reads. I'm delighted and excited to share with you information about our authors on the panel and their work. To start with, our first featured author is Patricia Bradley. USA Today bestselling author Patricia Bradley has penned 17 inspirational romantic suspense books set in the South. She and her two rescue kitties called Corinth, Mississippi home. And when she's not writing, she likes to throw mud on a wheel to see what comes out. Her featured book today is Fatal Witness. And I believe that there are links in the chat that will take you to the website where you can learn more about her book as well. We also are featuring Jann Franklin. Jann Franklin is a faith-based cozy mystery writer attracting readers who enjoy twisty Southern mysteries with a touch of romance and a dose of humor. Her books offer mysteries in Louisiana with curious clues and characters who exasperate as much as they endear. These quirky yet charming residents are just like family. Sometimes you want to hug them, and sometimes you want to disown them. Immerse yourself in small town culture as you exercise your sleuthing skills and your funny bone. Her featured book today is Muffalettas and Murder. And lastly, we have is as a feature Gina Holder. Gina Holder is an indie author and a stay-at-home mom. She's had an infatuation with books for as long as she can remember. She loves sharing uplifting messages from God's Word and introducing readers to new and new to them authors on her blog. When she's not writing, Gina enjoys playing the piano, cooking, reading, watching Hallmark mysteries, and solving escape room puzzles. She loves growing in her craft as an author, and she published her debut novel in 2017. She lives in Wyoming with her husband and daughter, and her featured book is Handmade Mayhem. Before I continue, just checking to see, I do know that Gina was not going to be able to make it. Checking to see if either Patricia or Jann, are you here today? Okay. Well, in the absence of the authors, I do see in the chat that we do have some readers who have been able to read some of this work. And I'm curious for the readers out there, what draws you into suspenseful or mystery within the Christian fiction genre, if anyone is willing to share?
Hi, Angela here. I was one of the fortunate people who got to preview Jan's book, and it was so fun. I've got to say, that was the first book I'd read of hers, and it was just so full of very quirky personality of her main character, and of course the adventure. And she writes in the Louisiana uh, area, so there's tons and tons of cultural interestingness as well as food down there that's very different. So it was a lot of fun. And honestly, I really enjoy the genre more than I thought I would.
Mm,
So I just thought I'd share that.
okay. I'm curious for our readers who are here, are most of you readers who enjoy mysteries or suspense? Is that something that you're drawn to Or are you more or less kind of like eclectic with your fiction reading in particular?
Mystery and suspense is actually one of my favorite genres, but I do read a lot of different genres. And I would say my favorite part is that moment when you're kind of think you know the twist, but those books that throw a completely different twist that you don't see coming, that's probably my favorite part.
I
Okay.
like mystery much better than suspense. I like the investigation.
Okay. Okay, that's good to hear, just kind of like that separation. Can I ask, if you don't mind me, what is it that draws you more to that separation? Like what excites you more? Sorry to put you on the spot, but
No, um, most, at least in Christian fiction, most suspense seems to be romantic suspense, and I don't really like romance.
okay.
So, and I also like how the mystery is uncovered. You know, what are the clues? What are the aha moments? And when it's done in a very clever way that takes me by surprise, I just stand in awe that somebody pulled it off, because I've read a lot of mysteries.
Okay. I'm curious, as I know we're talking about mysteries as a reader, but I have found that sometimes amongst readers, there are writers, or people who are wanting to write. I saw a hand go up. For those who also write, are you also someone who writes within that mystery genre? Here's a moment to shine.
I know. I actually do. I write cozy mysteries, so I was checking out the competition. That was one thing.
Oh.
But no, I only read mysteries, and I agree with is it JPC? I like the solving. So when I write my mysteries, I want to give somebody a chance to try to solve it. If they get the clues, they can figure it out. At least I know that the original back in the 30s during the golden age of mysteries, that was their rule to, you had to put in clues that the reader could follow. So suspense is different. So I wasn't planning on being on here, but
Yeah, well, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your work.
well, I'm
That's
Jann
okay with you.
and I write mysteries. I'm on Amazon, and I had a traditional publisher, and this year I self-published, and I have a new book coming out. But my first three books I'm selling for 99 cents. I put them in a book bundle to
Mhm.
try to see, you look for ways to market it. So I've just done that for a few weeks. And I've had a character, Megan O'Connell, who solved mysteries in Atlanta. She's an investigative reporter, but I began a romantic arc.
Mhm.
And then they got married, and I thought, what fun to do married couple mysteries.
Oh,
So I don't know if anybody reads those or likes those. So I've just written the second one.
okay.
And I don't know if others write, but one of the challenges I've had when you have two characters, a man and a wife, they're both main characters, you have to write differently than just saying one person's viewpoint, a limited viewpoint. So I've been experimenting with sort of omniscient, having both viewpoints switching back and forth. And I even have a little dog in it. I've included her,
Oh,
her feelings.
may I ask? I'm curious. Where do your characters come from? You know, where do they just show up for you? Are they based on? And I hope you don't mind me just kind of putting you on the spot here, but
No, no,
um,
I don't want to talk too much, so I want others to share. I just when I first started doing this many years ago, I liked mysteries. So like everybody else, I thought, oh, I can do this. This is easy. Wrong. It's not that easy. But so I created a female sleuth, investigator. I was, probably in my 30s at the time. So I did that, but then I actually went to law school. So I set it aside. And when I came back, I thought, I'd like to get this going again. And then once I retired, I started writing full time. But it was started out just trying to do what would it be like. And as I progressed, I find I want to do more and show more and look at it from different viewpoints and experiment. So I don't know if that's true of anybody, but I also wanted to figure out how to get my faith in it. How do you bring in Christian themes?
Mm-hmm.
And my current book, which is going to be called A Civil Murder, it's called a Megan and Derek mystery. The others were Megan O'Connell mysteries. It has to do with pro-life. I've worked in some pro-life issues, end of life, not the beginning, but pro-life covers end of life as well. So I've worked in some themes that go along. I deal with loss. I pulled in loss. So I don't know if that's helpful or more information that you want to know.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to pause for a second here just to check back in and see if either Jann or Patricia have been able to join.
I have a question. I would love to know, does anybody read or have they read, Married Couple Mysteries? There was like decades ago, there was the Thin Man Mysteries, Heart to Heart. I just wondered, mine are like Jann's. They're light, funny, and, witty, but also romantic. So I just wondered if anybody has read those or had any opinion on them.
Well, I'll just give a shout out to Joan. I certainly remember the Thin Man series with William Powell and Myrna Loy.
Oh.
And of course, Heart to Heart, a big favorite of 1980s television.
Well, I would like to use the tagline there that it's Nick and Nora Charles without the martinis. But I'm not sure people would know what that is.
I get it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, oh good. The old guy up in the corner gets it. Oh goody.
Well, I was going to say it's they had a lot of humor. They were a very witty couple, but most of their jokes in the first one was about martinis, I'm afraid.
Yes. It was kind of that Depression era.
Yeah.
Algonquin Club sort of vibe going on, but your touch points are touchstones are appreciated here.
Well, thanks. So I didn't want to. I don't know where your writers are, but since I thought
let's not stop a good thing, Joan. You're doing a great job, and you are a most qualified author for this panel. So it's a blessing you're here.
Yeah, and it does look like we do now have Miss Franklin.
Great.
Are you there? Are you present? I just want to, if you are there, just unmute yourself. I feel like I just saw your name pop up. Okay, I do see Jann Franklin. Are you able to hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Welcome. Yes, we've actually introduced you and mentioned your featured book, so we're happy that you are able to join us this morning. Welcome to you. And we have several readers here, including some fans who've been discussing how much they've enjoyed your work. I do want to just give a moment for you to introduce yourself as you see fit. Maybe perhaps share a fun fact. Anything that you would like us to know about Jann Franklin, the writer.
Well, I live in a small town in Louisiana outside of Shreveport. We have 298 people. And that's where I got the inspiration for the cozy mysteries. In fact, I have people come up to me. I read your book and I know who the killer is. I know who it is in our town. I recognize who you base the character on. And I always have to laugh because I don't base my characters on people in the town for that reason. But yet people still, they just know that who these different people are who I've based my characters on. So I find that funny.
Okay. Well, welcome. And we've also had the opportunity to learn a little bit today about author Joan Hatzler, who is sharing information about her work as well. So if it's okay with you, I do have a couple of questions for you. And then I also invite anyone in our audience to submit questions in the chat, and we'll go through them as well. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing why? Why do you write? In particular, within the genre with the characters, the stories that you have developed. Why? Tell us a bit about your why today.
Well, I actually wanted to go to college and be a writer, and my parents said, "Oh, you'll never make any money at that. You need to pick something that will be more, lucrative." So I chose accounting, which is basically the opposite of writing, and did it for many, many years and was able to support myself and my family. But when I retired, I really didn't want to do it anymore. And my husband said, you like writing so much. Why don't you write a newspaper column? So I called the local paper and started with that and started getting all these ideas though for things that were not really true. Like, oh, that's an interesting story, but what if it had happened this way? And so I started kind of writing little notes about that. And then I thought, you know what? Why not write a book? So my first book was actually it's called Small Town Girl Life, and it was a trilogy about a woman who moved to a small town from the big city, and just how she maneuvered, going from, you know restaurants on every corner to driving, 40 miles to get a decent hamburger, and making new friends and navigating, and also questioning, why did God want this in my life? Obviously there's a plan. And it took her a while to embrace her plan. So I did a couple of those, and then I was having trouble marketing them because they really weren't a specific genre. People would say, well, is it a romance? Well, not really. They're married. And, marriage is a whole different type of romance. Well, is there a mystery? Well, sometimes, no dead bodies or anything. And so I really was having a lot of trouble with it. So I thought, I love cozy mysteries. I love that they're very clean, and, there's not a lot of graphic detail. So I thought, why not write similar to what I've been doing, but throw in a dead body or two? So I picked the same small town that I was writing about, but added whole new character. So that's been much more successful, I would say. Because people get cozy mysteries, they understand what they are. So
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Your featured book today is Muffaletta's and Murder. Can you tell us a little bit about that book?
I can. So my character is she grew up in this small town, moved away, vowed never to come back, moved to New Orleans, got married, had a family. Her husband was a police officer. He died in the line of duty. Her kids had moved off to college, and she just was kind of floundering. And so her family encouraged her to move back home. So she ended up back in her same small town. Her brother's a police detective, and she just, again, was kind of floundering, not really sure what she was going to do with her life, hadn't made a lot of friends. Everybody was worried about her. So her brother gives her a case file. He says, I've been working on this case. I think I know who did it, but I can't prove it. You have a real keen eye for that sort of thing. Could you maybe just take a look, see what you think? Well, she, of course, finds herself getting involved in the mystery, and turns out her handyman actually has his PI license, but he's not really doing a lot with it because there hadn't been a lot of call for it. So he jumps right in with all his knowledge and experience, of course, and they solve the mystery. So I've had a lot of people tell me a lot of them find the sidekick a little frustrating at first, but I think that's true for most sidekicks. They're kind of quirky, kind of weird. Not everybody gets them. So,
Okay, okay. What did you find to be um, the greatest joy that you had while writing this book? Was there any particular moment or scene or part of the process that really brought a lot of joy to you?
ooh, good question. Well, I used to knit, and I enjoyed finishing the project and either keeping it or giving it to one person. But I found with a book, when I finish the project, it doesn't just go to one person. It can go, to to literally anybody and everybody. And I find so much more joy with creating something like a book versus creating a scarf or a pair of mittens. People just light up when they talk to me about my books. Like they just find them fun, and it's something to connect with a total stranger. And just the author community in general. I mean, authors are so welcoming. I mean, if I opened up a restaurant on the corner, the other people that have restaurants, for example, might not be quite as welcoming because they would perceive me as competition. But authors, we don't see each other's competition, because if my readers like my book, I could promote your book because they probably would like your book too. I mean, if they're the same genre, the same writing style. And so there's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of support and encouragement in our community. So it's like I've got a whole new set of friends that I never had before.
We do have a question from the audience. What are muffalettas?
Obviously not from Louisiana, and that's okay. I did not know. I've only lived here a few years. Um, they're based in New Orleans, but of course you can find them pretty much anywhere in Louisiana. But you take a piece of the round bread with sesame seeds on top, and inside of it you've got pastrami, salami, basically any type of meat that you want to put in there. But the big thing about the muffalata is they put an olive spread on top, which usually you either like them or you don't, because some people are like, "Ooh, olive spread, that sounds disgusting." But some people go, "Ooh, I love olives. Olive spread just sounds amazing." And it's, instead of using mayonnaise or mustard, they use that olive spread to kind of as the binding agent to just put it all together. If you ever go to Jason's Deli, you can get a muffalata there on the menu. And I think you can even get a half a muffalata if you're not sure you want to try it. But I've actually had people buy my book because they say, "Oh, I like muffalatas," and they buy the book. And I'm thinking, well, it's not a cookbook, but okay, I'll take the sale. That's all right.
Awesome. You mentioned the author community, and there's a comment in the chat about the love for the author community, about how encouraging and supporting it is. Can you share a little bit about how you have connected to other authors? You know, what makes up your community that you hinted at earlier?
Let's see. Well, joined I signed up for a virtual author conference, and I met two really lovely ladies. One lives in Monroe, Louisiana, and the other one lives in Tyler, Texas. So they're both a couple of hours apart, but we talk all the time. They're both young moms. Their kids are all under the age of 10. And whereas my kids are grown and married. And so we still connect. So our initial connection was over books, but we have found these other connections, the fact that I have been through the process of mothering children and sending them out of the nest, and they're still struggling with that. And so we have that connection too. Through ACFW, the American Christian Fiction Writers group, I found a group of ladies that they just wanted a small, let's talk. Every week we'll have a subject, a topic we'll talk about. And so every week we have a different writing topic on, marketing, or good writing craft books, or, how do you use book funnel or anything like that. And so we have, communicated through there. And then I've actually, offshoot of that, had a couple of author friends that came out of that we actually talk more regularly. And I'll, "Hey, I have this idea for a book. What do you think?" And they'll say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this for, I'm thinking about going out to this bookstore and see if if they'll carry my books. How would I do that?" And we just talk, and it's just fun. And, you start with one connection, and then you find a lot of times you have more than one connection. You both have sons, or you both own parakeets, or you both hate the snow, and you just kind of build on it. It becomes a friendship. It's not just a business contact. It's a real friend. I love that.
That is beautiful to hear. Thank you, really for sharing and kind of giving a peek into the world of authorhood and how important that community is, not just for your craft, but in terms of relationship. I'm going to ask our audience to start thinking about a question or two that you might have, some additional questions. And as you're thinking, I do want to ask you, Jann, can you tell us a little bit about what themes are important to you to address in your book? What really rises to the top that you really want readers to grab a hold of?
Well, I'm a pantser, so that has been a struggle for me. And for y'all, for those of y'all that don't really know, authors tend to group themselves into two different types. Plotters, I've also heard them called architects, and pantsers, I've heard them called gardeners. But basically, plotters are ones who, they plot their whole book from beginning to end, every detail, and they have it all outlined before they even begin writing. Whereas pantsers, which is what I am, they start out with an idea. They think that's, I think I kind of know what I want to do, and I think I might know the ending, but I might not know the ending. And then I just start writing and things just happen. And so for me, that especially I've only been writing a few years, so that can be I didn't really get all that initially, how you should have some sort of overall theme, but I think it just kind of happened. And I think God definitely had a hand in it. Obviously, I think he by having, especially with the cozy mysteries, the fact that her husband was killed on the job, and the man was brought to trial and is sitting on death row, but she never really moved on. And so she's really struggled with forgiveness, and she struggled with friendships, trusting people. And so those have been themes too. But as I've grown as a writer, I've tried to have my characters definitely have a character arc. I've started a new series where she really doesn't know what she's doing. She's spoiled. And so that whole theme has been learning to grow as a person and learning to become self-reliant. But I do in each book have a separate theme. Like I know in one of my books, it was about reconciliation, reconciling with an estranged family member. Another one, it was about, letting go of the past and forgiving someone who had hurt them. And in all my books, I talk a lot about just connection with God and praying, and how important it is to have fellowship in Christ and fellowship in the church. But my books don't, you're probably not going to read my book and go, wow, I just had a big epiphany. For me, it's more about people, everyday people. These are our everyday struggles. This is how we try to work through them. Definitely God is a big part of it and is the center of it. But it's like I said, you're not going to walk away and learn something new. Probably you're probably going to, in fact, I've had a lot of people say, wow, your characters are good, I like them, but so and so really needs to move past this, or so and so really needs to stop gossiping, or things like that, because they're real people. I mean, they love God, but and some of them, of course, aren't Christians, but for example, they love God, but they still struggle with sin, like we all do. So,
Okay. Yeah, a question from the audience. What kind of impact do you want your book to have on readers? It sounds like you were kind of speaking directly to that. Is there anything else you want to add specific to that question?
I really write them for people to enjoy, just to say, I wish I could meet so and so. She sounds like a fun person. Or I can't wait to read the next book because, man, she really got herself into kind of a mess this time, and I hope next time she learns her lessons and she, does a better job of taking care of herself. So I want people to connect with my characters and feel that they're real. They're not perfect. They have their own struggles, but they try. So, and like life, I guess in my books, the people are brought to justice because I think we all need a bit of diversion. Life can be pretty hard sometimes.
Yes, I hear you on that. As very quick aside, I work both as an author and also as a therapist. And when you talk about diversion and where other people are seeking healing and help and hope, death and grieving can be such a heavy topic as well. And just how we all grieve independently and in different ways. So thank you for adding your voice to the collection of cozy mysteries. And hopefully readers are able to have that enjoyment, to have that diversion, and to also find places of hope within your words. And as a fellow pantser, I'm with you on that. I know for myself, I have to be about 100 pages into a story before I even begin to start feeling like I have a grasp on plotting and that sort of thing. That's kind of been my pattern. Um, are there any other questions that are out here? I see a comment about with widows, just I guess the terminology about moving forward instead of moving on. And we think about again, grief and those things that come up when we're talking about mysteries. And although it's lighthearted and cozy, we are still kind of dealing with these heavy topics that can come up. How do you feel your words? Who is the audience that you're hoping your words will reach?
Most of my readers are age 50 and up. Um, and regarding the widow, and that's true. And in my books, I think she does address a lot of that about, she doesn't, nobody moves on, you're right. But people tell you as a widow to move on, just, you can grieve, but you just need to go forward or go on with your life or go forward, and she struggles with that too, because her husband's always going to be part of her life. And especially because they have children, so she sees them and she's reminded of them. I actually have a good friend now who's a fellow author who is a widow, and I've learned a lot about widowhood and grieving from her because I've lost a parent and grandparents, but that is not nearly the same as losing a spouse. And so I've learned a lot from her about what widows and widowers do go through and what people tell them thinking that they're being helpful, but they're not. Because you're right, you can't just move on. You never move on. You always have that person as part of your life. And that's what she in the books, her name is Ev, and has been struggling. Has started dating again, but it's just different and it's not the same, of course. And I think I don't want to give too much away, but I think in the end she is still just trying to work through her grief. And her grief is also more profound because her husband was killed by somebody. Well, I don't know if it's more profound, but it's just different. He was killed by someone. He was young. Uh, uh, so she's struggling with that too, trying to not have so much anger towards a person who killed her husband. And that's hard for her too, because it's very easy to point all your anger and grief towards the person you feel like is responsible, and it's not healthy. So she's got to try to work through that.
Okay. All right, now final minutes here. I did want to have a window for you to talk about a little of what's next for you and how readers can connect with you.
Real quick, so I have a new book coming out in January. It's a new series. I kind of touched on it. So her name is Rose, short for Rose. Her grandparents raised her, so she's an old soul, even though she's early 30s. They've passed away. She's inherited their house. She's decided, even though she can't boil an egg or keep a plant alive, she's going to open a bed and breakfast for humans and their canine counterparts. She doesn't have dogs, so she goes out and adopts 3 dogs and is working with that. And then, of course, there's a mystery to solve. So it's a brand new series. And then I'm starting to outline a little bit. You know how that goes with a pantser, but I want to do a Christmas series where I bring a book out every Christmas, and it just happens at Christmas time. Although my friends and author friends have told me, no dead bodies, Jann, just do a mystery. So that will be a new experience too. Instead of having to solve a murder mystery, it'll be a different kind of mystery. So,
Okay. Well, best wishes for your path going forward, for your writing journey, for the readers who will be touched by your work. And I also want to thank all of the readers and audience participants who joined us today. Thank you, Joan Hetzler, and I apologize if I said your name incorrectly, but I want to thank you for also adding to the discussion and sharing a bit about your work. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I hope that you are encouraged to hear the work that has been done, that you keep reading. And I know that there's some other questions that have come up since we are out of time. I encourage you to reach directly out to the authors through their channels of communication so you can learn more about them. And thank you for your time, everyone.